What's up, guys? So, the distance that I made it so far is 170 miles. I walked 100 of those miles, and I was helped about 70 of those miles by some of the people I talked about in my last videos. The last place I ended up was at the McDonald's. I stayed there for a day, met some more interesting people. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about those experiences, and then I am going to tell you why I backtracked and am back where I started, but that my journey is not ending. Sometimes we backtrack in life, okay? So, sorry. So, right after I made that video in McDonald's, if you guys saw that male in the background who was going in and out, well, I sat in McDonald's and uploaded the video, and this guy, he was awesome. He walked by me and he said, "Hey, I just bought these sweet donut things for breakfast. They're too sweet. Do you want them?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, that'd be awesome. Thank you." And so he gave them to me, and then he's like, "Do you want some coffee too?" I was like, "That would be amazing." So guys, I wasn't planning on having breakfast. I didn't have any food at this point. So I was just gonna go through the day and see what happens, because I'm not supposed to ask for anything, right? So he gave me that, and it was cool. And I told him, I said, "I'm going to talk about your generosity, but I don't have money to give you, but I appreciate what you did." And then he comes back in and gives me money. He was like, "Why did you think that I wanted money?" He's like, "I don't want money." So he gave me money. He gave me $5. Just so you guys know, when people offer to help me, I always take the help, especially like food and water and stuff. If you bless me, I will always say yes. And then when you bless me with money, though, the money I do give back to somebody, like, right away. I don't carry around money because I don't want that to be part of my journey. So I'll give it to somebody else who looks like they're in need. So that happened, and then they let me hang out at the McDonald's for a little while, charge my stuff, and I decided to start walking again. And I started walking east, and I walked for maybe about 30 miles. And I want to tell you guys about that experience because it was a very interesting experience. So I was walking for 30 miles, and I ended up finding myself in this area where there was, like, no civilization. It was like a farmland. There was nobody around. Every once in a while, a car would go by. But I had been walking alone for so long and spending so much time alone that I decided to pray. Because, I do that. So I was praying. And since I'm living open, I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys about what happened. And I already expect, like, judgment for this because I've already been getting it from the people I've been telling this to. But it was a really cool experience, and I want to tell you guys about it. So I'm praying, and after I stop talking and do what I'm doing, I say, to my higher power, I say, if you ever want to say something to me, like, I am listening. And they started talking, okay? I started to hear stuff. So they told me, they said, "Hey, sit down and rest," because I ended up going in a path that probably would have killed me had I kept going, because there was nothing for miles and miles, and by miles and miles, I mean like 80 miles of just nothing. Okay, and I only had 2 bottles of water with me and some corn nuts that the deputy had got me. So, had I gone, I'm pretty sure, like, maybe I would have been okay. People probably would have helped along the way, but, they just said, "Just sit for a second." So I sat. At that point, and you guys, I know it sounds crazy because people are calling me schizophrenic after I told them this, which is fine. You can call me whatever you want, but you know how I feel about labels. But I'm going to tell you how it affected me anyways. So I was sitting there just talking to them, and decided to meditate so that way I could just listen. And what happened, guys, was I'm sitting there meditating, right? And at first, with my eyes closed, I hear something growling next to me on my left side. And what my higher power says to me is, "Be still, for I am God." So I just stayed there. I didn't move or anything. And then it went away. I didn't feel it anymore. So then next it felt like there was somebody sitting next to me and looking through my bag, because my bag was on my left side. So and I didn't feel violated or anything like that, because I felt like they were just trying to understand who I was, and it felt like a legitimate person. But they didn't say anything to me like be still or anything, because I wasn't feeling afraid. It was cool that somebody was trying to understand me. So that happened, and then after I'm sitting there a little bit longer, I hear people behind me, and they say, "This is the Yuma Sheriff's Department. We got a welfare call, and we just want to see if you're okay." Because I'm just sitting there not moving, guys. I think I had sat there for about an hour, just not moving. So they said, "We got a welfare call, and we just came to check on you." So I hear it again, "Be still for I am God." So I don't move, I don't say anything, I don't do anything. And they did not like that. So they started trying to get me to act, because my inaction was making them uncomfortable. So at first, they said, "Are you intoxicated, sir? Are you on drugs, sir?" And I didn't respond, because every time I felt like I needed to respond, I would just hear, "Be still for I am God," okay? So I didn't respond, and what they did was they grabbed, my hands were like this. I put them in first because I was cold, so when I started, I put my hands in like this, and also so that if somebody came, they knew I wasn't like dangerous. So it was like this, right? I was just sitting like that. So first they came and they said, "We need to see if you have weapons," and I didn't do anything. So I felt them, they pulled me back, okay? They didn't take my arms out yet. They pulled me back and they said, "We're going to do a sternum rub to get you to be coherent." And so I let them pull me back. I didn't like resist or anything. I let them do what they were going to do, and they did a sternum rub, and guys, oh, that hurt so bad, and it still hurts. Like, I can still feel it. But while they're doing it, like, I did wince, but I kept my eyes closed, and I still didn't like act other than making that face. And you know, I kept still hearing the same thing. And so finally, I got tired of the pain, because he wouldn't stop doing it. I got tired of the pain, so I pushed myself back up and got back into the position, right? So since I wasn't responding, they called on the radio and started talking to who was ever on the radio about, you know, what was going on. They said, "You know, there's a male here. They might be Hispanic. They might be a runaway or a worker." And I'm just listening to them talk about me and like make assumptions about me when I haven't said anything. And they're like, we don't know if this is a missing person. We need to get an ID about them. They said, "Can you get a picture?" And they said, "No, their head is like down," because I was sitting like this, guys, and I think I had my hood on. They said, "No, no, I didn't have my hood on, but my head was down." And they said, "We can't get a picture because we can't see them." And they're like, "Just get a picture." So what they do at that point is they come over and pull my head back and take a picture of me. And then they let me back down. And the whole time they're like, "Just talk to us, just talk to us. We know life is hard. We know that, you know, there's stuff going on, but it will be okay. Just talk to us." So they're making assumptions when I haven't said anything. I'm doing nothing. And I literally was living a life without boundaries. I didn't care what they did to me. I stayed still. So eventually they call the paramedics. And you guys, if you feel like I ended up wasting the city's time, I want you to know I did not ask them to be there. Okay? This was not... If you were like, "Wow, you should have just talked to them, you wasted their time," that was their choice, okay? So the paramedics come and they start trying to talk to me, and now they're all talking to each other. And this was an interesting experience, because they were like, "We think it's a Hispanic male and they're traveling, and we don't know anything about them." So they started trying to figure out things about me. So they took my hat off and put it to the side, and they said, "How did you get an army hat? Where did you get an army hat from?" And they're like, "We think that he's a minor. He might be a minor. We can't tell with his face. He's either an adult or a minor. We can't really tell. We can't tell if it's a man or a woman. We don't know what's going on." So they finally pull my arms out and look at my tattoos. And guys, I have the semicolon tattoo. And what they said was, they were like, "Okay, so this person does have mental health issues or a history of it." And then somebody else says, "Well, maybe they just know somebody who has mental health issues and was like doing that in support." And like, well, we don't know. So they kept coming up with their assumptions. And then finally, I don't know how they found out that I was a female, But that was weird too, because they kept calling me he after they found out that I was a female. So I think it was the deputy, because guys, there was 3 people there. One of them didn't talk very much, so I don't know much about them. But the paramedic and the deputy, like, I heard them talking to each other a lot. So, they said, well, you guys need to stop disrespecting her and refer to her as a he. And they're like, well, we don't know if that's what they want, so we should just call her she. And I'm just sitting there the whole time like, I don't care what you call me, but I found it interesting that they were debating with each other about how they should treat me when I never told them anything. Like, they were coming up with all kinds of assumptions of who I was just by what they were seeing, and all of it was wrong. So the guy who did the sternum rub, like, actually physically hurt me, he was actually the most compassionate. The guy who was trying to act the most caring was the most aggressive. So the paramedic, he was trying to act like he gave a shit about me and, like, my well-being. And maybe he did, but my act of not acting scared them, so they acted. And the paramedic was, like, jerking me around, like, why won't you just say something? Why won't you just talk to us? We're trying to help you. And I was like, I don't need your help, but, like, we don't understand. So, what the paramedic said was, maybe it's the police officer making you uncomfortable. Maybe it's them being here that you won't talk. So they're like, how about you go away? So they made the deputy walk away. And I'm going to tell you guys this. When they made him walk away, I started to feel not so safe. Even though he was the one who hurt me, his actions hurt me, but his words were kind, guys. He was always trying to stand up for me. Like, maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe we shouldn't be doing this. And then, but the paramedic, he didn't care. He was like, go through her bags, look through her stuff, try to figure out who she is. But the deputy was being kind, okay? Even though he physically hurt me, he was kind, okay? The paramedic, who was not physically hurting me, just kind of being aggressive, he was not so kind. I felt like he wanted power. He wanted to make me act, and not to help me, but just to get me to act. He just wanted me to say something to him, just like prove that he could, I guess. So this was going on for a while. Eventually, they did go through my bags to try to figure out who I was. And the first person who looked through my bags, I felt at peace because I knew they were just trying to understand me. But when the paramedic went through my bag, I felt violated because they were using what they found in there against me to try to get me to act. So first, they tried to use physical force to get me to act. Then they tried to use verbal to get me to act. And then they started to play mind games with me, guys, trying to get me to act. So I do have a journal in there, and in my journal I had 2 phone numbers written just in case, like, my phone turned off and I needed to contact somebody. These were the 2 people I would contact. And I hear the paramedic say, he's like, you know, I am a great detective. I got a phone number and I'm going to call it. And I was like, I know it was written down. It wasn't that hard to find. So they called this number, and this person started talking to me on the phone, like, hey, what's wrong? And I still, like, at that point, that was the hardest time not to act, because I care about this person. So I wanted to tell them what was going on, but I still heard me still crying. So I stayed still. And then they went with the phone and started telling this person their side of what was going on, making me sound like I was insane, which I may have looked insane, guys. To the outside world, I probably look insane, and that's fine, but I don't feel insane. I've never felt more sane in my life. So they go and they start gossiping. Okay, they're over there gossiping about who the fuck I am, what the fuck I'm doing, right? And that relationship has since been destroyed. Okay, they don't talk to me anymore, which is fine. That's my consequence. Everything happens for a reason. That one did hurt the most. My chest still hurts from the sternum rub, and my heart still kind of hurts that I lost this person from just doing nothing, guys, from just sitting there. So a life without boundaries is still dangerous. Because, and I wouldn't say dangerous, I felt at peace the whole time. No matter what they were doing to me, I felt at peace. But I did learn that, you know, no matter what you're doing, people are going to try to take power over you. You know, even you doing nothing, they're going to try to assert their will into your life. And, you know, that was just something I learned, and it was pretty interesting. And I did up having to, I got a blanket out of it, because finally what happened was when they finally decided to stop, they realized that they couldn't transport me because it would be kidnapping, basically, because I didn't consent. I never said anything. They didn't know what was going on. So they were talking about taking me to the hospital or the homeless shelter or, like, a Safeway just to get out of where I was, because they thought it was dangerous. Anywhere you are can potentially be dangerous, so I don't care where I'm sitting. Anywhere could be dangerous, so I wasn't worried about it, but they were hell worried about it. So then they were talking about moving me down the ledge so that I'd be safer, and then they're like, we can't touch them. But they wouldn't leave, so now at this point, they're just talking about what to do with me. And they were like, you know, if you would just let us know you're okay, we could just go. And at that point, I was just like, I'm tired of this. So I think this dance happened for about an hour and a half of me just sitting there and letting them do what they were gonna do. So finally, I decided to snap out of it. So I opened my eyes, and first the paramedic was like, oh yeah, I see you smiling, like you're fine. And the reason I smiled, guys, is because what it felt like was I was communicating with somebody in my way, and it was like children trying to get their parents' attention, just fiending for it. So I laughed. I thought it was funny. So I stood up, shook my head, laughed, grabbed my hat, put my hat back on, zipped up my bag. They put a blanket in there, so I was grateful for that, guys. I got a blanket because I used that because it gets cold at night. Put my bag back on and just walked away and started praying again. So that was that experience. I ended up walking back to the McDonald's that I was at, so I backtracked because I went in the wrong path, so I backtracked and ended back there. Stayed there for a while. Met some more really amazing people. I met this one female. She is homeless from my understanding, but she was the most generous person. Not the most, you guys are all very generous, but if you look at it, how she may have had nothing but was still willing to give me what she had, I found that interesting. So she, and I looked ignorant, guys, because she asked me, she's like, have you eaten anything? And I was like, yeah, I ate, but I have some food still if you want some. And she was like, no, I was asking if you wanted me to get you food. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, thank you. I'm good, I appreciate it, though. And then she did it again the next day. She's like, hey, do you need food? And I did, because I was hungry. I was like, yeah, I'm kind of hungry. So she threw a couple chicken sandwiches at me and a pack of cigarettes. And then she told me, she's like, you know, I'm staying over here. There's a fire and stuff. If you need shelter, you're more than welcome to come and hang out. And I was like, cool, thank you. I really appreciate it, and I do. And I hope I see her again sometime because she was very kind. So after that happened, I kind of started to rest because you guys walking that much, I don't know if you can see it, but like my shoes, I don't really have soles in it. If you reach down here, it goes straight to my feet. So I wasn't walking very much. I was sitting, just resting. My legs were hurting. So I was using it as my time to rest. And while I was doing that, I would walk around and pick up trash and stuff. Just try to still be active. But I wasn't going to plan on going a far distance because I wasn't mentally, emotionally, or physically prepared to keep walking. I just felt a lot of physical pain. I just felt a loss, an emotional loss. So I was dealing with it. I sat, I rested, I understood what was going on before I acted again. While I was doing that, I was hanging out at a McDonald's, and I saw somebody else, and, you know, I really wanted to talk to this person, and I don't know why. I know that I really wanted to shower and somewhere to sleep, but I was drawn to this person, and they had bags and stuff, too. So they, I was talking to them, and we started having a conversation. We sat there and talked for maybe an hour, and they were a really amazing person. I hope I see them again someday, too. And they offered me to go to their room with them and offered me a shower and a place to sleep. So I walked back there with them, and we talked the whole time I was there because my brother had, I told him, because I was telling people what happened, like people who were close to me what happened, and so they started calling me schizophrenic. And so their fear of what was going on with me did change the way that I acted. It directed my path again. So I did backtrack. I started to believe what they were saying. I was like, you know, maybe I'm just sleep deprived. Maybe that didn't really happen, even though, you guys, it felt so real. So I told my brother, because I had called him the night before and told him what happened. Kind of scared him, I think. And so then I texted him and I said, hey, you know, I think I was just sleep deprived. I'm sorry. And he's like, I'm coming to get you. And I didn't say anything. I didn't, like, I wasn't planning on coming back, but I let their fear direct my path again. I didn't stop them. I didn't do what I wanted to do, and because what I wanted to do was keep going. I want to keep going, guys. So I didn't say anything. But while I was waiting for them to come pick me up, I hung out with this person the whole time. They're amazing, guys. They've been like all over the world. Just amazing. I sincerely hope to see them again. So they were the last person that I've seen on my journey thus far. I have been learning a lot throughout this, guys. I'm still very excited for the future. It looks bright. So I'm gonna keep going, keep doing what I'm doing. Maybe take you guys on the path with me. See what happens. But, you know, I hope you guys are happy. I hope you're content. I hope you're living your best life, and I hope you're passionate. I know I am. I'm tired now, so I'm grateful that I have this time to rest and kind of regenerate before I go back out. Because I do plan to continue, guys. I have a destination I'm trying to get to. I'm not going to stop doing that. And driving back, it was a weird feeling. I was like, I just walked all that way, and now I'm just coasting on back. I didn't like the feeling. So that brought some stuff up, because it felt like I lost a lot of ground. I walked all that way for nothing. But that's not true, because I got all these experiences, and I learned all this stuff. So it's never for nothing. And sometimes we backtrack, but guys, I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to be resting for a couple of days before I continue. Probably not going to post any videos unless I feel like there's something I want to talk about. But for all of you guys who have helped me so far, thank you. For all of you guys who kind of hindered my path, thank you. Like, I'm learning a lot from you too. I'm having a great time. And just so you guys know, my calves are huge. I love it. But have a good one.